this is how it starts.
It's good. There's nothing wrong with it.
We've just been basically trying to peek the mic for the past 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah, inadvertently or
Yeah.
it
was an
Gee whiz,
We're
your sense of time.
No, we're talking an emotional 10 minutes.
Is every minute for you a year or something?
You know what? Sometimes it feels that way. When I'm at work, hell yeah, it does. You kidding me?
sometimes,
Like
man.
shit, man. You ever have those moments where I had that moment today? I got up at I took some melatonin. I had a great night's sleep. I got up at 8. I went and got food. I came back and I was working stuff. I'm like, oh wow, I've done so much work. I look at the clock. It's 10, and I'm like, it is going to be a long day.
I had the exact opposite. I was like, last night, I was like, I got to finish this estimate. I'm so tired. I'm going to have an energy drink before I go to bed to try to crank this out. It wasn't even that much. It was just like getting in the mindset.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I get it done in 10 minutes. And I'm like,
Shit. No, I'm awake.
and then 1 a.m.
Yeah. Dude, I've stopped doing that because I did that all the time.
I don't do it very often.
know?
Coffee, I can't. This is like literally a monster. I had a full monster before.
A
Fuck.
full monster. I can
Yeah.
understand finishing one.
Yeah.
I don't ever do that. That's why it's weird.
He's like, well, time to do an estimate, and he shotguns it. He
usually-
takes a screwdriver, pokes a hole in the
Wow.
bottom of the can.
A lot of the time I would sip it and then you'd take the next day, but like I was unconsciously finishing it and I was like, my body's tired, but like my mind I can easily do certain things very easily in my mind at like 1 a.m.
You're just
Even though I was tired.
You're laying there, just like drooling, eyes open, like just glazed over,
Yeah.
completely comatose, but in your brain,
It was, yeah.
you're like Stephen fucking Hawking.
Because I'll listen to
Like,
audiobooks before bed, and I mean, he's like very quickly I go to bed, and I was in it for like an hour straight, and I'm like, because it was like boring philosophy thing I've been listening
Yeah.
to. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm not sleeping because if I won't sleep from this, I'm awake.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this morning was of course right when I feel like I want to sleep. I was like, ah no,
Yeah, no, I can't sleep.
ah.
Dude, at least this is only something you deal with once in a while, because for like the past, especially like during lockdown and stuff, that was my fucking like existence. That was my
Really?
life. Time had no meaning. I would fucking be like, all right, well, it's like 5 and I want to be up for like game or whatever, so I'm gonna drink an energy drink, and then it's like 1 in the morning. I'm like, I am just laying here in bed trying to go to sleep. Like I almost did that earlier this week. I was gonna stay up late and hammer out some dogmas. I'm like, well, I'm gonna need an energy drink to do that, and then I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna go to bed early like an adult and just wake up earlier and get it done, which I did, and it worked.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah, well.
I thought about doing estimates before I do work for the day, and I never can.
I stayed up too
Yeah.
late purely because I was listening to polka circus music from
You
the
sure
50s
was.
and 60s.
You sure was.
Did you hear it just blasting? I
No,
sure
because
like,
Casey will do the thing where he's really into something, and he'll walk in and he'll be like, "Hey, I'm going to talk about it for an hour."
Yeah, I did that to him yesterday.
hey, he's
I had to tell him what I knew.
And then I gave him some more stuff.
I
Yeah.
knew some things, and I'm like, I have to tell someone. Who do I tell? Matt.
I did the same thing too. I literally walk in here. What the fuck?
That is a hammer.
It's
This
a hammer.
figure is caught in the
Dude,
hammer.
That is hilarious.
Do you have to explain what a hammer is to you?
No, you don't have to explain what
Okay,
fucking hammer is.
so-
You have to explain why this
Jeez,
guy is in here.
Oh,
It's
I
a
don't know.
halfling
'Cause Casey,
brawler.
Anyway.
Casey likes to play with hammers. Wow, you're gonna have to edit this part.
No, I don't.
Nailed it.
You sure? Yeah, I
Just nailed a nail with a hammer through the top of a bottle cap.
my 4T, my Tehava, my
Oh
my
wow! I did
tea bottle
I
looks
did
like a
all
40.
that work to try to describe
you-
it without describing the name brand, and you're just gonna drop it
you're
like
always
that?
the one who has a problem with me mentioning brands without us getting paid.
I don't know. I just think it's funny.
It is very
Honestly,
funny.
I think it's.
Is
I've
that the
always thought
screw
it's funny that
that
that's
was in my
that's such a
pocket?
big
This
deal.
is the screw that was
you
in your
really want
pocket.
it touching other liquids?
It's not
I
touching the
piss
liquid.
in my pocket, so I don't have to take breaks.
You can.
I have a pocket.
You have holes cut in your pocket. You have like little plastic Ziploc baggies in your pocket
Yeah.
so you can piss while on the job.
Yeah.
Just wear a
anyways,
diaper like a normal human being.
outside.
Outside,
the fence?
you just show up to work like, hey, what's up? And they're like, hey,
Hey, this is normal.
this is, hey, it ain't casual Friday, pal.
Anyways, you want to talk about stuff, right?
No, I would, well,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
But
Okay,
yes,
we're good.
But I was
We're
going to
good.
say,
Bye.
no, I came in and that's literally what happened. I came in and he's immediately talking about, but that's, I've been, we've been doing the work. He's been working on Curb.
Yeah.
I've been working on track marks. Like, it's like, I have to, at least when someone's talking to me with something and it takes me a second to get into it, like it took me a second to switch gears and stuff, it's like I gotta make it look like my eyes aren't fucking glazed over, because then I don't want to do this, because I know I do the same thing to other people, you know? So it's like, well, fuck, here we go. So yeah, coming right in and being like, so here's the things I've done. I'm like, oh, okay. I just got off work. I just drove over here. I was listening to fucking black metal with the windows down, with the storm rolling in. I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then come in, and it's like my brain. It's like it made the sound when you fucking shift, but you don't got the clutch in all the way, and you grind. And fucking, yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah,
and that's what it's also what it's always like switching gears for this.
Yeah.
It's like our brains just do a collective until
I have to. Yeah, I was doing
out.
paperwork before this. So
Yeah.
I'm not like
my car's not even started.
what?
Yeah, if we're gonna go with that, if we're gonna go with that,
That
analogy,
analogy?
my car's not even started. I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
sitting in it. I'm
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
Look, I think
Scared me
if
for a second.
our longtime listeners know that it takes a
Us?
second to rev up. Yeah, me,
Yeah.
me, mostly just me knows that it takes a second to get things rolling.
Yeah, it take a while.
So, well, I'm gonna give you back your piss nail, and then we can get started.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so we haven't started yet.
We haven't started yet.
No, we haven't started. Well, yes, I mean ostensibly we started. Hypothetically, in the broadest of senses.
I think it's quite the opposite. I think it's quite.
You know,
literal.
I can't see my gestures later when I listen to this stuff, but that, you know,
that.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
you know,
How could you?
yeah.
I
Don't
think
say too much.
when we were talking about Curb earlier, I came up with a list of stuff that we could talk about, and for lack of a better transition, I can literally just jump right into it. And I kind of want to start with, I think it's funny. I think it would actually be best to talk about it in backwards order, starting with, we might have touched on this before, but like, who do you like to play games with? Because we have people who run games, who've played and run games with friends, acquaintances, randos, business partners, essentially.
Mhm.
Like, what is what do you look for, I guess, in if you're gonna sit down and you're gonna GM a game or play in a game or something like that, and you're looking across the table, who has to be there for you not to just stand up and walk out the door and be like, no thanks. You know what I mean?
Get out of the
Yeah, just
door.
leave.
just
Just
leave.
fucking wordlessly stand up and leave their house. Have you ever done that
I
before?
only do that
No,
with friends.
I've done that before. I've done
I'm
it
not
twice.
surprised you have.
Well, but times that were not with this group, I've
Sure.
done.
Sure.
I've done.
Oh,
Yes,
he's done
yes.
that.
I wasn't referencing that.
He's done it with
You've
me.
told me the other times that you've just walked out of games.
Yeah.
very, very passionately. I've
Wow.
told you what's up. No, there are two instances where I have wordlessly gotten up and left the house before,
Hilarious.
left the table.
Yeah,
before.
you go. I'm a head out.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna leave. I don't want to be
Early,
here
yeah.
anymore. Yeah. Oh, gee, look at the time. I just say aloud to no one in particular as I walk out the door.
Yeah, I think this is a question more about you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
become more about
Like,
me
I don't
because
think
I've
how-
revealed my power
I
level.
think Casey and I will have
Listen,
similar answers.
I mean,
don't
there's
think
there's
gonna
been
be-
games I haven't enjoyed. There's been plenty of games I haven't enjoyed that I've played.
Yeah, because we
in.
play so often, you just have
Um,
to go through the motions.
But honestly,
Sometimes you do. You
every
have to go through the
time I've
motions.
DM'd a game, regardless of who the players are, I've had a great time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a bold statement.
No, pretty much. I've GM'd for like high schoolers back when I was in high
You like
school,
that, yeah.
and now
I did
most
too.
recently,
that was fun.
GMing for kids, GM'd for people that have never played before.
When did you GM for kids?
My sisters had several birthday parties.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
regularly, I
adorable.
was the hired entertainment.
That's adorable. Are they going to be listening to this podcast?
No.
if you're a kid and you listen, you shouldn't be listening to this. It's
It's
like
it is called the wrong room.
you walk
I
in
think
and
if
we're
you're
like, "Hey,
listening-
get out of here!"
If you're listening to this, regardless, by the title, this might not be the place.
Maybe I'm wondering why we're not getting any views, and maybe I'm literally telling people like, "Oh, shoo, good thing I didn't go in there. That's the wrong room."
That's the wrong room.
yeah, I guess.
No,
not,
I love
not
it.
as
I love it.
welcome.
I've always liked the title.
So
It's good.
So you've never, none of you have. So Matt said sometimes you just got to go through the
I
motions, which is
just
very
don't.
true.
I just would never walk out. I mean, unless it's like without saying anything. I don't think I've never done that. I would have definitely brought up something if I'm walking out. 'Cause
Right.
There's times I walked out from Casey, and he knows it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's times I've walked
But
out
he
on
knows
Casey.
it.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
knows it too. There's, I
There's
think,
also times Matt has walked out and I didn't know it. And he'll just leave sometimes.
What? What?
Sometimes you'll just get tired and you're like, that's enough. And I'm looking around the table. I'm like, oh, I must have gone to the bathroom. And then you're gone. You just
I
show
don't
up the rest of the
remember
night.
that.
You've done that once or twice before.
I feel like once. I don't.
I think you
remember
did
that.
it. It was a good once then.
Okay. I
it was
don't
memorable.
remember ever doing that.
Because we just kept playing the game and it worked. But I was
Oh.
like, yeah, Matt just left for the night.
probably Ravenloft because I was just playing a solo game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Probably that game.
we can talk about spotlighting is on the list.
Mhm.
But I do want to say that the only times I've ever walked out on groups is without saying anything is because I don't respect the people who were there. Like, not like I don't respect.
I love that. It's just. I love it's just like, hey, we're about to play a game, and Jimmy's like, I
Nope.
don't respect
Yeah.
you.
No, because you don't agree with like a specific ruling that was very unfair.
No.
Or its particular style. It's just
That's
I
not the
lack
reason
of
why.
respect.
No.
at
That's not the reason
base.
why. If I
Sorry,
sit down
I
at the
respect
table, I'm not having a good time, and I don't know anyone there, and I'm never gonna see them again, I'll just leave.
Yeah.
Like, even if it's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom or I gotta take this call, I'll just walk out. Like,
I guess we
'cause
always
it's
play
like-
together with each other. So.
Yeah.
Because I like running for my. I was gonna ask, so because I like running for my friends, I like running for people I care about and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I think the big thing is that like I like making people feel cool.
Yeah.
To be cool, you want to make people feel cool. But you were saying you've never had a bad time at a session, Casey. Is that right?
When I'm running it. No.
When you're
Blanks
running, because I was gonna say, because it's like when you're GMing, or I'm assuming even when you're playing, of course you're doing it for other people, but you're also kind of just doing it for you.
Yeah.
You're like, if I'm doing my thing and having a good time, then I'm set.
Yeah.
Basically, Matt? Have you ever had a bad? Have you ever had a bad time
I
playing?
have not said anything, and he's already assuming something. I mean, sure.
Well, I know man, Casey talked about it in that GM show.
I mean,
Also, he
one
made me
of
sound very
his
petty.
bad games is basically the spawn of the whole freaking thing I'm doing.
He made me sound real petty.
I did. No.
Don't you think I sounded petty?
I
He
did
sound-
not think you sounded petty.
He said
no.
So Casey's like, because the description Casey was like, here's a tower. You see the tower? And I'm like, don't understand. I'm sorry. I'm just big GM, man. Here's the tower. Oh,
Fucking Sean Merrick.
oh, shit, the tower. Let me explain again with my big DM brain. That's the tower. That's the people. I'm sorry, I gotta go. I'm not gonna talk to you for 3 days. I was like, damn, this guy sounds petty.
That is not.
Oh, really?
That is not how I heard it.
Oh, yeah? That's not how you heard
I
it?
think on this podcast, Casey has described it in a way that's like I think it's been described charitably, but Casey on this podcast described it in a way that's like, yeah, it's kind of your fault. But on the stream,
No.
but on the
No,
stream,
no,
no, but
it was
on the
not my fault.
Listen, on the no, on the stream. Because I don't give a fuck either way. I wasn't there. I don't give a fuck about your stupid ass tower. I don't give a shit. But when Casey was talking about it on the GM show, I actually messaged him because I was messaging him live when I was listening to it. I was like, I think it's pretty cool how like reflective and even-handed you were, because you were like, yeah, you know, there might have been, you know, we might have different opinions as to how this worked, but at the end of the day, it's kind of my responsibility because of this, and here's the lesson I learned from it. And taking away a lesson learned is a big thing to do.
Yeah.
You sound like you're the one who's still no, I'm kidding.
I mean, I wasn't even that mad, I don't think,
No.
at the time. I was just...
I
thought it
not
was
from how I
frustrating.
remember hearing about it.
I was definitely frustrated. Because, yeah, it was just us going back and forth and be like, but this is how I see it. And you're like, no. I'm
Matt-
like, but this is how I see it.
Matt,
No.
Matt,
and you're like,
that's one of the only times in my life where you came up to me and you're like, I was pissed at you.
there was other times. No, there was other times. I tell you if I'm mad.
Which
I'll
is
tell
good.
you.
That's a big man thing to do.
I'll think about
know?
it for a couple of days and I'll be like, you know what? Hey, I was mad. Here's what happened.
Community service time. That was another time.
community service?
Yeah, the thing we had to do in high school that I woke
Oh,
up
because
late
you
for.
suck at working.
Yeah.
You actually remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you suck at working.
Yeah. He'd be like, "You have a bag," and I'm like, "Yeah, we're here to community service. Like, pick up, leaves." And he's like,
Why were you guys doing
He's like-
community service?
It was a
High school
necessary thing for graduating high school. You had to do a certain number of
Oh,
hours.
I picture you
And the
both in
hours-
orange jumpsuits at the side of the
No,
road.
no, the hours. The
No.
hours was meeting up in a park to pick up leaves.
"It's still
That
work.
fucking
You do
sucks.
work."
Yeah.
I
It's
go.
leaves.
I go 100%.
There's gonna be more of them.
Whether I do free work or I do work, I go 100% no matter what I do.
I mean,
So it just showed different personalities.
I get
And
it for
I
a
go 100% whatever I do.
maintaining the landscape sort of issue, but for people that have like just crappy yards to begin with, that then rake the leaves in the fall, right before it's gonna
It was
snow.
a park.
It's gonna snow.
Right.
We still were tasked to do a job. and do
First
it
fall the
correctly.
leaves, then falls the snow. With the snow, no more leaves.
I completely agree that raking leaves is the dumbest shit ever. Because especially in our winters, we get really strong wind.
Yes!
So I don't need to rake my yard because it just
It's
blows
just
all the
gonna
fuck
blow
over
away.
the
I
neighborhood.
I
It
don't care what the
decomposes.
task is. If someone gives me a task, I will do it as best of my ability.
Yeah, all right, Tigtone.
I'll tell you what I told my parents.
It's a
I'm
principle.
still doing it. I have the right to complain about it while I'm doing
Exactly.
it.
I didn't
But
say
I'm
he
getting
couldn't
the work
complain.
done.
He just wasn't doing anything.
Oh.
No, I did.
Oh yeah, So there's a
No,
there's a
come
guy.
on.
Someday I'll do the time machine thing. We'll be sitting really looking.
You
I'm
can
like,
use
"Dad,
a
look
time
at
machine
that!
once.
Look at that!"
You're
And you're
gonna
like,
use a time machine
"Yeah."
once, and instead of going back in time and like killing Hitler, you're gonna go back in time with Casey and be like, "See, look,
No.
look how
See,
shittily
he
you're
didn't
picking
pick
up
up
leaves."
shit.
Well, it'd be like a view thing. I'm describing it as a view thing.
Okay.
Like, so you'd be just floating around, and then Casey's like, and then just me like picking up, helping other people, getting more bags,
Just
getting
being
ready.
a good person.
Yeah.
just enjoy-
And then Casey's be like,
a man of virtue.
"Hey, that's a cool tree over there. I'm gonna put some leaves under the tree. How's that? That looks cool." And I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" It's a principle thing. I don't care what the work is.
I was having a Tolkien-esque reflection.
It's literally principle. Do you see my side?
I see
I
your
am
side.
principled.
Yes, I do.
I
See
I was
your
probably
side.
a huge
If I do
jackass.
side work, if I do side work for people, I will go 100% the same way if I did paid. That's how I've always treated it.
That's
Everything I do.
That's a good philosophy, and I feel like that's something I aspire to do, but do not follow through on.
I can burn out on it because I've done free work for for someone for a while.
Yeah.
And they'll pay me just because I didn't ask for it, but I can burn out. But I will go 100% as much as I can.
I don't really do like free work anymore. Like I'm specifically talking about like when it comes to like my job and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
unless it's for someone who it's like they really need help and I care about them. It's like, yeah, of course I'm gonna fucking help them or
The
whatever.
homeless guy's like, "Hey, I really
Um,
need help with Excel."
Yeah.
you-
Hey, I don't know. If a guy under the bridge was like, "Hey, come teach me Excel, kid," I'd be
Well,
like,
You
I
walk
don't know.
over and he's a
like,
full desktop gaming thing, and he's like, "Hey, man, I just don't get it."
He's got his rig.
Yeah.
He's got an Alienware rig on a
Yeah, he's
card
like,
table
yeah.
underneath.
He's like, "I just don't get Excel."
Hey, he's
And you're
parked,
like, "What?"
parked at the McDonald's. He's got the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
He's tailgating his
Don't
gaming
don't
rig.
appro-
He's
listen,
playing
dude.
League.
Dude, all
Yeah.
kinds of gamers, man. All kinds.
All
kinds
kinds
of
of them.
gamers.
Yeah, all shape sizes. Yeah. But it's like I do like to put a professional amount of work in my personal stuff because I do think that if it's like if it's worth
makes sense
doing,
for
it's
you,
worth giving like all of your shit to.
Yeah.
You know.
I think it's to me
Um,
it's being present in whatever you do. That's why I
Yeah.
say I try to be 100% whatever I do.
No,
'Cause
I
it's
totally
being present in the moment.
When you are at work, you are working. When you are at game, you are playing. When you're
Yeah.
doing the podcast, you're doing.
That's
the
why it's hard
podcast.
because I'll
Shit
get like
yeah.
calls from the office or calls from other thing, and I'm like splitting my mind because I'm trying to stay on the job and then trying to think of a different job at the same time.
That's why at work sometimes our boss is like, if you ever need to just log off and do shit offline, like just tell me. And I've done it before where I'm like, I don't want anybody bothering me. I'm gonna sit here for 2 hours and I'm gonna knock this out, and then I do. Just because I don't want other people sending me emails or trying to message me or call me or anything like that. It sucks.
How much I gonna do?
Yeah, that's true. At the end of the day, there's not much you can do. The next thing I was going to bring up, and we had kind of touched on it, but I forget where we touched on it, but it was spotlighting.
Yeah.
I
Spotlight.
try spotlight. I try, and I think this kind of goes into engagement, being in the present moment and stuff, because when I play with my friends and when I play with people who I know are committed to enjoying a role-playing game, I do expect everybody to be invested, even if it's not their turn. I know that's not realistic, and I've definitely loosened that recently, because it's like sometimes you are just going through the motions because you're having a bad day, but you want to be there. Sometimes you really have nothing to do, and you're gonna like look at your phone, or you're gonna like write something, and it's like, I don't care if people do that. Really, I used to care a ton, and now I don't. But there comes a point where there's natural spotlighting, but then it's like there comes a point where it is kind of the GM's responsibility to keep everybody engaged.
Yeah.
But that's hard, especially when you're running a type of game like Burning Wheel or something like that, where that just happens. And what we were talking about earlier is like, what do we think about spotlighting? How do you stop that from happening? Like, or on the player side, do you give a shit about spotlighting or not? Like, when that happens in a game, because that definitely happens in like Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like, how does that make us feel, and what are things that we could probably do?
Oh, you're just gonna pass that to me,
I
huh?
was mostly asking
how
you as, like, a
often do I
player.
DM? Why would I talk
Well,
first?
I'm
Well,
not
how does it make you feel as a player? Yeah.
As a player,
What are
what
these?
is it?
As a player?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends on what the spotlight is. Because like 5th edition, because how the initiative works, you are automatically spotlighting, which is why we made it so we do the whatever it's called.
Side initiative.
Side
initiative.
initiative.
Side initiative.
Which-
King. If you were listening right now and you run D&D 5th edition, you're not doing side initiative. You're missing out.
Which I think
doesn't
it helps.
It helps a ton.
Because I think it reframes people to be like, you have a turn with someone else, and not I'm going to get ready for someone to help me, and then it fails. It's
Yeah.
like that's what I've always liked. But like, I mean, every time Jimmy is being spotlight in Star Trek, I'm just like banging my head against the wall. I'm just like, my phone is just not big enough to be in front of my face.
Your phone's not big enough.
Yeah, like imagine I'm wearing headphones and I'm just like,
You're like, just,
as
oh,
soon as
God, yeah.
it's Jimmy's turn, I go just put on headphones.
Just Jimmy's turn.
And
yeah.
I just look away, and then it comes back, and I'm just like, why doesn't no one care about my turn? Or I hilarious?
Right. Well, I think D&D is a pretty natural response to that, because like you said, side initiative, that's built in.
Yeah.
But it's like, how do you think? Okay, let's say I'm taking my turn, and you fucking hate it. You hate my dog shit character. You hate what I'm saying. You hate looking at my face most of the time.
Yeah.
Keep
You
going.
know.
Keep going. Yeah.
Like, what if we're playing Star Trek and one person's getting spotlight, and you could change something? What would you do? Like, how would that spotlighting work? Because I also think playing supporting characters isn't really great either, because even though it is a solution, we talked about this a while ago, I want to play my character.
Yeah.
I only really give a shit about my character.
Yeah.
Like, I do give a shit about what other people are feeling around the table, but even as a GM, it's like I care about running my game.
Yeah.
And to force people to care about a character they probably don't care about is kind of a tall order.
Yeah.
So what would you do?
I mean, if Star Trek's obvious way of dealing with it is already ingrained in the game, which is that you're spotlighting your character, but you're part of the ship. You're part of the ship, part of the crew. So, like,
right.
in theory, if you're going up to talk to a character to deal with something, that will affect all of us. And yeah, in D&D,
Yeah.
it could be like,
That's a good-
hey, I
good
am,
call.
I'm this one rogue. But the one rogue could be like, hey, screw the players. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
You can't do it in Star Trek.
Yeah.
The
fact that the rogue is down the hall messing around with a trap that could probably like just put spikes through his head in a matter of seconds is no concern to anyone else in the party, except for going, oh, don't die because that's going to waste our resources.
Right. I almost feel like it's better. You're right. I almost feel it's better, and this is something I've been experiencing with Project Zomboid, because I'm running a multiplayer server and I'm dying a lot. And I have Isaac, he's playing too. We both have built this server. We've done a very good job. I've died like 12 times. He hasn't died yet. And I take a lot of risks. And I'm rewarded for those risks a lot of the times, and then sometimes truly I'm not. But I think that's because I'm thinking about the game as I am not playing a character. I am playing our homestead. Because when I spawn back in, I can just go back to our homestead, which my last character died building. And it's like, I feel the same way about like track marks, where it's like, yeah, we're playing our individual Blackguard, but really we're playing a group of Blackguard.
So
in Star Trek, really we're playing the ship. And I think that kind of like ego death, that like you are not playing a character, you are playing a unit is...
Ooh, that's going to be hard
That's
to
what
tackle.
I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Matt.
That's what I'm saying.
But then it gets really meta game. Because then, which is, I like living in the meta, where it's like we're talking about the things our characters are doing, not being our characters. Like we're talking about, just kind of more having a discussion than actually getting down into, oh, here's what I'm doing and stuff like that. But that's definitely a play style that's foreign to pretty much anyone who's not in like the OSR. And even then, you see a lot of stuff giving way to like role play.
Yeah.
So that's hard too,
Yeah. I mean, I utilize spotlighting when I've been a player in the select games that started doing it. It excited me heavily. The fact that there's things happening that my character isn't a part of that are somehow then connected into the greater scope of what my actions will do and become. I really like that aspect. And the first person that really demonstrated that for me, I believe, was you with World of Darkness.
Aw.
Blue
Mountain.
I had done some select things like scenes and such, but regularly I was just still playing D&D. So it was about where the party is, what they're doing, where they're going. I do some things like showing some villain side scenes to give greater context or some hints of things coming, but I really didn't start realizing doing spotlights for characters until World of Darkness and its play style, because it heavily embraces that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of its great things with its depth, but also it is very limiting because usually it's people playing very individual stories that are just happening to bump up against each other, and the main scope of the story is just the greater horror that's underneath it. But there's nothing that anyone as a group, for much good reason, has any reason for coming together to deal with it. It's always outside of their scope. The reason we're seeing spotlights is because we're seeing different aspects of that same horror that is unapproachable and undefeatable.
Right.
Ultimately. So it creates a very individual-esque play.
That is true. And we have had some pretty crazy interconnected scenes.
Yeah.
Because that the bus comes to mind.
Was that the beginning?
That was at the very beginning.
Yeah,
that was pretty close to the beginning.
However,
Jesus,
that was tight. That affected the mood of the rest of the game. That affected a
lot
of things.
That was wild.
Mainly just your scene.
Well, you did it, yeah.
Yeah.
I just like, I'm just an old man.
Yeah.
Shot at, yeah.
So things like that. You could just by switching to one character and limiting everyone else, suddenly you can be changing an entire tone or an entire plot development that makes sense for why everyone else is limited to that in the moment, but then because one character interacts with it, it is introduced to everyone else. I like that as a storytelling mechanic.
It is, yeah, you're right. It's a literary thing.
All this said doesn't mean I don't recognize spotlighting fatigue in players.
Right.
Because sometimes scenes that you would deem being very important for plot or whatnot run much longer than you would expect. Or you start something that might be small with a character, and you start finding and doing discovery with that person doing dialogue or in that scene, and suddenly you're wanting to spend a lot more time there as well. But the more time you spend, there's less time that people are involved with their own characters, their own plot lines.
Right.
Ravenloft was the biggest hassle for this, especially when the players all individually decide with no other recourse, they're going to split up geographically across hundreds of miles.
That is true.
That became very difficult.
And then yeah, we had some. There was still, obviously, that campaign's legendary. So obviously there was some extremely good spotlights, but I also understand that there were spotlights that weren't.
Yeah.
I feel like, because I was going to say a way to avoid spotlighting is to let the players kind of direct where things go through their actions, but clearly that doesn't work because you gave me the example of them deciding we're each going to do something different.
Yeah.
I feel like that is kind of where a discussion is really useful. Like literally like coming out of the game and being like, all right, guys, we can split up, but I really want us to stay together. How do we do that?
Yeah.
I've talked about before how there's this weird propensity for people who play role-playing games to try to resolve social issues at the table through the game. Like, oh, I hate this player a ton, so I'm just going to kill his character with rock falls and everyone dying instead of telling him that he sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Chad.
Yeah, we've all seen it.
Chad move.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Chad.
what?
You described it perfectly.
Yeah, Matt. Jimmy, you just described how Matt killed purposefully my character, Jellyjaw. Or tried to kill.
The same day, you had a roof fall on you.
He tried to kill. He
Then-
killed me a plot armor way, a different way.
Sure did.
That's awesome. That is the
You
Chad
should be,
move.
yeah, you should be just like, Matt, that's the best.
It was
Pretty good.
pretty
Casey was pretty pissed. He was real bad.
That's fucking hilarious.
It is hilarious.
But like, I guess another way I've thought about doing it, because I'm going to be, I mentioned before, I'm going to be doing some GM-less Burning Wheel with the group and giving that a shot. And by not having a GM and by giving players the ability to make scenes however they want, if there's two people who aren't in a scene, they can literally take the rulebook and go do their own thing and then come back to the table and be like, yeah, we did a thing that's affecting everything now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just complete. Because I ran a LARP
Oh, you're pulling
before.
them out of the game?
It's a GM-less
No,
game,
it's a
so the
GM-less
party
game.
can split up into two different ways and continue running
So if
simultaneously.
there's no GM, so if we're at the table and we're like, here's something that three of us are interested in doing, and then two people at the table are like, we're not really interested in doing that, so me and this other person are literally going to do another thing, and then we're going to come back to the table, and based on the rolls and stuff we've made, some other crazy shit has happened. I did that with a LARP because I was the storyteller. But, like, I was mostly there for conflict resolution because there wasn't a robust set of procedures like there is in Burning Wheel. Like, Burning Wheel, you can feed something in and something pops out. It's pretty, natural like that. But, like, there was all the time. There would be people who were like, you know what? We're talking with a larger group, and then we're going to go off and do our own thing, and then we're going to come back, and this is the thing that happened. Everyone's like, oh, fuck, and now they're all scrambling to deal with that. There's always fires to put out, and there's people, like, turning on one another and trying to do other things, and it creates, like, this really compelling atmosphere of chaos because you always feel like something's going on. You always feel like you don't know what's going to happen next, and you always feel like there's too many fires to put out. So you're always, like, engaged. You're always in media res. You're always like, something is happening right now, and I don't need to wait for the GM to get to me to deal with it. If me and another guy feel like we want to deal with it, we can go deal with it, write down the results of our tests, come back to the table and say, hey, unfortunately, here's what happened. And now the thing that you were doing is completely different because we were doing the same thing at the same time. And it's like a whole fucking mess. But in a good way.
I'd have to see how it goes. It just doesn't sound. It sounds good on paper, but
The LARP was good. The LARP, I also will have to see it though, right? Because I've never done that as a 6-person, 8-person.
how many people were in the
tabletop
LARP?
game. 14.
Yeah, that sounds like you would have to split
You would have
to
no
make
choice.
anything interesting.
You're right.
But in general, hey, because the whole spotlighting thing, because we used to do it all the time in high school and then after that, which is hey, step out the room. We're gonna bring stuff out in the plot only you know.
Yep.
And then we stopped doing it as much.
Yeah. I figure a lot of times it's just way better to say your character has limited knowledge from this. Now watch what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the players are still involved, and the fact that their characters aren't allowed to see makes it even more intriguing for those intrigue scenes that I'm giving to a character. It also it prevents the level of the person coming back, and it's now of course now they know something that no one else knows, and so there's this weird little power dynamic that's and always what it comes out to typically is then whatever happens, then the player reveals, and it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's always they were. So the thing is, they were
yeah.
actually an owl the whole time. They weren't a person. It's whatever.
Right.
Whereas if you're able to do it at the scene, you can show it. You can describe it to everyone. A big deal.
Yeah.
However you're wanting.
It does create some really interesting power dynamics at the table. I like how you say that.
That's what I loved playing in the Strata Zero game, because I played a character that had. I purposely played my character so my perception was garbage, so I wouldn't see any of the Cthulhian mythos stuff happening around me.
Yeah.
And so most of the time, I had extremely limited knowledge as a character throughout the game. But as a player, I could see the entire scope of how everything was like pinching in around the scope of where I was playing my character.
Mm-hmm.
And that had a really cool effect to then being able to explore it, going, yep, I'm going to have my character walk down this hallway. I, meta-wise, know that this is horrible. Let's see if my character's going to figure that out.
Right. We've all been we've either been in or run games that have had very effective use of spotlighting. So what happens when you like what has happened? Why is it that you have a game that then has bad spotlighting? Like what is the difference? What do you think is the fulcrum point between a game with good spotlighting and a game with bad spotlighting? Because I think the Burning Wheel game I ran on the island had both. I think it started out good, but then as the lore kind of got out of control and I kind of started fizzling out, honestly, I should have been leaning on the players a lot more. But in that specific case, it's almost to the point where I felt like if I was another player and running another character, it would have been way cooler. It would have been way more interesting. It would have gone a lot farther. But that's a specific case for Burning Wheel. So there's plenty of games that I don't think would work that way. So, like, what is the difference? Like, what do you think happens in a game that makes spotlighting not feel fun or suck?
I guess don't spotlight if it's not going to be badass.
Yeah?
I mean, that's one main thing.
That's a good point.
When you're doing a spotlight for, okay, let's now have you're wanting to go talk to a blacksmith to make your sword better. Okay, now he's going to harass you, and now he's not as nice as you thought he was going to be, so there's a whole haggle thing. And whoop-de-doo! Oh, I've seen that so many times in games. Just do it as a check with some whatever haggle rule you're going to have. Make it the deal over. Unless that blacksmith is actually secretly working with the Dark Cabal you're trying to take down, why is it a fucking spotlight?
Yeah.
You know what? And that's actually the approach. Because Estrado Zero, I think, is my most successful game.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was super awesome. And my entire approach to it was every time there was a scene, every time there was a spotlight, I either put people in media res and made something happen immediately, or I made it to where it was just super crazy and cool. Yeah. Like, on one hand, I feel like, some people might say, well, every blacksmith you meet can't be some super crazy, cool, secret, mega dude, and then something happens. Yeah. But at the same time, why the
not?
Fuck not?
Yeah,
why not?
Why not?
Yeah. Because I was just talking earlier.
You're already doing a story of exceptional people.
That's how I did Ravenloft.
Yeah,
that's how I did Ravenloft. It was by going, I'm going to make almost every single person they interact with statted as a villain with villainous archetypes and desires and goals and methodology.
I'm going to make them fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I was just talking earlier about how I want to make people feel cool at the table. I want to feel cool at the table. And what other way to do it, even if you're not playing, than to make absolutely everything cool? That's a Cyberpunk 2070... Cyberpunk Red and Cyberpunk 2020 thing.
Yeah.
Mike Pondsmith is like, everything has to be fucking cool.
Yeah.
If it's not cool, then who cares? It should be cool because you're all exceptional people, because you all deserve character sheets. And Burning Wheel is especially fun to do that in because the book itself is like, just don't stat anything. Don't stat anything. Just do whatever you need to do to make shit cool. Especially because the player knows what's cool. Because the player's like, I need a challenging test. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what would be a cool, challenging fire building test? And then you drop them in the middle of shit. You introduce some new off-the-wall fucking character. Either he's going to be there for one scene or not. It doesn't even matter if he fucking makes sense.
Yep.
Just go.
Yeah.
And then things kind of fall into place. I think that's a good philosophy to have.
Now, here's the hinging problem of what we've set up by this dichotomy. What if you've got a cool scene that once you start running it, just isn't as cool as you thought it was?
Ended immediately,
yeah.
Back out.
Yeah.
Back out. Or cut to black for effect.
Yeah.
Or make it seem like, there's going to be... I did that in Estrada Zero a lot, too. There was stuff that kind of ended and people who escaped who I just never fucking brought up again because it never came up again. And then that added, like, this intrigue and mystique. But that was me being like, nope, Control F4, Alt F4, get the fuck out of here.
I'll say, I don't think I've seen... I guess, except like impressive or exceptional spotlighting, because it just, if your character's doing something, it's just so much more interesting to be with someone else.
Yeah,
That's how I try to grab any other characters.
Always try to
available.
pair off.
Yeah, exactly.
least.
The buddy system. Like anytime we play any game, I try to bring someone else because like how it's just not that interesting for only me to do something.
Well, and
You're right.
something
it's just not.
something
I'm
I've
not
done
that
as
interesting.
something I've done as a player, because you can control this as a player with how you're playing.
Yeah, totally.
I've made characters and oriented them to be have their interests tied more with other characters. That's one of the reasons a lot of the characters I'm playing in D&D games or whatever games we're playing these days, they're mostly all support. Because I found that the way to stay engaged in the game is to constantly be concerned or have my interests tied with what other people are doing.
Yeah, be with other people at all times. Buddy system at all times.
Maybe, what if you made that a table rule? Not a house rule, because house rule implies
I think it's
a
an
modification of the
incentive
game.
thing. I think it's a weirder thing to constantly, I have to be with someone.
I don't think it's a bad thing. I think
don't think
whatever you do as a character, you have to grab someone. Yeah, buddy system.
But there's times when
need
you
two people.
don't need to be by yourself. But I think it's just more of a a thing.
I think that's something the GM could decide.
Yeah.
When the GM thinks that there is a big single thing that needs to happen, then cool. Otherwise, if it's not cool enough, you're taking someone with you.
No.
Like literally just as an
I guess I just
at-table
see it like a
necessity.
maturity thing.
That too.
I guess that's just what I see it as.
That too. No, like what? Like
I guess it's just for me. It seems to be have a weird rule about like something we've just slowly understood about games, which is that like, hey, yeah, if I don't really like the rogue just kind of doing whatever he wants in the background and spending 10 minutes of our time doing something that's not going to involve anyone, or rather have someone else do something wacky and then be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there. That sounds fun.
Yeah, the
You're right.
success of the several D&D campaigns we've done most recently that we've started and now finished has largely been because
We were gangs.
we've gone,
Yeah.
we're the group. We care about what we're doing. We're not going to leave one of us behind. We move as a unit. If we mess up, we fail as a group.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, even
And
though
it's-
I was the character that was joking that I was never with you guys.
Yes, but the thing
we
is
were
that
never.
but that was the
never
great thing. Is
mattered.
it's like Matt's like he's playing the archetype. Yeah, I'm not with you guys. I'm completely separate. But in game, he's always 20 feet and he's planning with the group. He's just being the wild card doing random things.
Yeah.
We were
So-
always as a gang.
So
Right.
we're like, we're the gang, and then there's this guy. But that's still the dynamic of the gang. Without this guy, there wouldn't be the gang
Right,
because
right.
that's not interesting enough.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I think it is the responsibility of everybody to make everybody feel cool at the table.
Yeah,
Totally.
But that's why I also don't like playing with randos, because there's no reason. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm playing with a bunch of friends, we all have a reason because we all want to be cool together.
Yeah.
If I'm playing because, if you running a stream game, you have incentive because you all have to maintain some sort of, you're entertaining.
Yeah.
So you have to maintain, and I mean, that doesn't mean you're not having fun and just entertaining. It means we have an incentive to be involved in stuff because we're trying to do something here.
Yeah.
But when you're running a game and you just have some people come up who've never played a role-playing game before, or who have or who play games have, different, you have nothing between you except the fact that you like role-playing games.
Yeah.
It can be really, really hard. Like the model of spotlighting we're talking about is pretty much impossible. I like stuff that's where stuff like, for me, track marks comes in. I can sit down.
Immediate
I can
res
print out
game.
a point crawl. You have made characters that's taken 2 minutes. A complete fucking idiot can make a character.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know anything about role playing. It gives you the things, and then you sit down. I read a paragraph, and then we immediately begin. You're right, in media res, and then we go.
You're together.
And you are
Don't
playing a
question
group.
it. Make
Right.
it interesting about why you're together.
Right, and even if they don't make it interesting, because
Kick them out.
Right, tell them they suck. And no,
That's what you're saying, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I thought we were getting that. You were talking about you kicking people out.
Oh, I can get to that. I think
Oh.
we already talked about that before, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, now it's like I don't have to work. Everybody is on the same page, which is barely a page. Everybody knows that they're playing a group of people, and I'm doing all the heavy lifting. Not that there's much to lift anyway. And then we just go. It's beer and pretzels. It's a perfect thing. You play at a bar with your friends when you're drunk, or just randos when you're drunk and everyone's having a good time. I wouldn't trust. I have had successful rando Burning Wheel games before, like demo games and stuff, but I would not trust that typically.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be going to a table of new people. But then there's the problem of also want to capture their imagination. If I want to get new
That's
people
usually
into
what
the
gets me.
hobby, yeah, I want to show them what it can be, but I can't do this because I can't trust all of these people that they have everyone's best interest in terms of fun in mind, because I don't fucking know these people.
Yeah.
But so it's like you're walking this tightrope of how do I run an effective one-shot with people I don't know, and how do I capture the imaginations of people who have never played?
My favorite thing about running for brand new people is watching them switch.
Yeah.
While they're playing, it goes from they're sitting at a table, they're like, okay, this is a thing, I'm rolling dice, it's like a board game, I'm making decisions. This is how we're going to spend a few hours. At some point, if you can run a game well enough, you can see them switch when they're no longer a player and they start understanding what role-playing is. Not just role-playing as talking into character and being theatric. No, when they start to get the incentive of how it feels to be at a table. When I was running a game for high schoolers, it was probably one of the most ridiculous things because I had none of their attention most of the entire game. I was running for 7 kids that are all like 15 or 16. They're all engaged mostly in their phones or what's happening at school. They're all happy to be around each other outside of school. Several of them have obvious interest with each other. Don't want to get involved with their freaking high school romances at a game. But it was there. But the more I ran and the more I was able to describe, I slowly started to see 1 or 2 players starting to pull away from the meta that they're living in and start to go, oh, I can engage with this. I can do things in this game. I can express myself in a way that I can't in any other manner.
Yeah,
that's pretty magical.
One of the best things I remember this this girl that was at the table when we were playing, and suddenly they're getting into combat, and so I was having them roll initiative, and they're following a bunch of math on their sheet, and they're like sort of getting lost at this point until she goes and hits a goblin, like make an attack or roll this die, add that bonus. Okay, you hit. Now roll that damage. And she rolled, and I was able to describe exactly what happens when she's making the attack. And that's when I saw her eyes light up.
Yeah.
That's when I saw her go, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to run over, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to do more.
And then it's
and then
completely
as soon
switched.
as one person did that, they're like, I could see the other players at the table going, oh, what? Whoa. Okay, my character's got rope. I could do something by tying.
You're not pushing A and B, or you're not doing a shooter. You can input whatever you want, and he'll translate it.
Within about a half hour. That was the hard part of starting the game and feeding into it. Within a half hour, that's when the switch started happening, and I could see people's imaginations light.
Yeah, because like you talk about with you learn Burning Wheel enough where you're like, say something and I'll translate it.
Yeah.
I am the arbiter of the game.
If anything, it does make it easier to even give experienced players that moment of, because it's like, hey, let me do the heavy lifting. Just fucking go. If anything, that exact feeling should probably be what we're going for every single time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it's not always feasible to do that every single time, but it's like, because I don't know if you did this or not, but in my case, the reason why she hit was because I lied.
Yeah.
Is because it's
a lot of times it's 'cause I lied.
Well, it's because I can tell that it's like, she's not having a good time. She's confused. Fuck it. I want her to do something. I want her to hit.
Same. Yeah.
Yep.
Make them seem like actually doing something in the world.
Yeah. Screw it. We're
you
doing
actually
it.
have impact. Now keep going. I gave you the start.
Right.
Yeah.
Now keep going and going and going. And I think, I honestly think the type of magical experience we're talking about that we've all experienced, it's like you should be doing everything you can to do that every single time. And I don't even think that's a system thing. I mean, well, more or less, it doesn't matter what the system is. It's a system that you're comfortable with doing that with. It's a system that you can go, I know what I can ignore. I know what I can push. I know what I can make players do.
Mm-hmm.
I know, all of this stuff that I can make shit really, really just happen, really work.
It is. That's really why I DM the way that I do, I think, majorly. That's why an hour, 2 or 3 hours before the game, I'm switching into a completely different headspace. I'm getting into the music. I'm reading into things. I'm trying to become part of the world so that I can simulate it, so I can feel it breathe as players are reacting and doing actions in it. That's why I'll go and buy entire new table sets and new props to have at a table that have nothing to do with the game, but because it changes the visual frame of reference of where you're playing and how you're playing. I feel like if you could see that there's so much effort of trying to express the world around you on a table, then it's so much easier to try to give into it.
Yeah. I'm going to I have a thought in my head. I need to get it out. So I apologize. This kind of steamrolls a bit, but
rolling.
I've noticed, I've been thinking a lot about Star Trek.
Yeah.
And there are definitely times where I have been super into it and times where I have been not.
Yeah.
And the times that I am not are the times when things slow down for procedure.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be kind of why I like Burning Wheel a lot, because there's barely even a combat system. But there is, and it's very complex, but the only time you use it is when you're not saying yes.
Yeah.
So we're not rolling the dice all the time. Like the players are describing stuff and going, yes, 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 yes. And then they do something. I'm like, wait, now we have to break out the dice because I'm not sure if you can do that. And if you don't do it, this is what's going to happen to you. And now we're talking about that good spotlighting.
Yeah.
When all of a sudden it's like, wait, we have to roll for that. Just you.
Yeah.
And then other people are like, oh my God, well, can I help? Because this sounds like it's a big deal because we're actually rolling dice. And it's like, yes, you can help. But if you help, you'll also get fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, like I love that about the game. There's a school of thought that's like, you want players to be rolling dice and rolling dice and rolling dice because it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like, you know, and I think Estrato Zero is kind of like this. It's like sometimes you just want to roll dice for effect. Yeah. Sometimes there is a whole ritual to using the dice because we don't use them that often. Because when we use them, it's because it's like, oh,
yeah,
shit's going down. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think that maybe in an addition, an addendum to the rule of cool, it's also the rule of speed.
Mm-hmm.
Do not slow down.
Well, yeah, I think that's
anything,
what I found with the whole speeding it up is what I was doing. I was trying to do it sometimes was, maybe we don't need to roll perception 10 times. Maybe
right,
you can see enough. Okay. I always like to incorporate someone's background into how they perceive things. So like if they can see something, describe it more as like, hey, you remember, you're the step person in like Rokugan, and you remember like some certain birds at the time, and you can see a bird. I didn't say you succeeded perception, but I said, no, your background and who you are is why you can see this thing.
Yeah.
Whether you have a good perception or not, I always like to incorporate backgrounds to who, like, constantly DM back the person. Like, hey, I am playing this kind of character. And then go, I acknowledge that. Now I'm showing you how I see it.
Yes.
And so, someone's walking into a room and I go, you're a rogue. You should know how to see things.
Oh, that's profound.
And interesting. You're a trap person? Well, you notice there's something over there. Oh, you might not. Oh, I'm going to actually try to, disarm it. Well, I mean, you've already done this a couple times. I think you can get it. Oh, maybe you do fail. Mm-hmm. But I think what you're talking about is like, roll back. Stop doing so many rolls.
Yeah.
I think it should be.
Well, I mean, once
bringing those characters more and developing and moving around.
You're more talking about them than talking about exactly what's on their sheet. Like the fact somebody has the fire building skill and Burning Wheel means, you should, of course, be building fires and stuff. Does it matter whether or not you know how to build a fire right now? Like, no. I mean, it does in the sense that it's coming up in the story, but not in the sense that we're making it a
That's why,
test.
Passive is so important. We just like, no, we want to see it. And I was like,
and when we started embracing the Let It Ride rule, pretty much with almost every game.
Oh, Let It Ride's amazing.
Yeah.
You just roll it once, and that's what it is forever.
Right.
And it helps with a game that's not like D&D, where it's like, it's such a small thing. It's like Let It Ride. It's like we put all this power into this role, into this thing that is happening, and now it is forever.
Yeah.
It feels, especially because I have a ledger, a nice ledger, and every test anyone ever makes. I was doing this during the Burning Wheel game that we were running.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
I write. It's in a line. It's in ink. So can you imagine you're a new player. You sit down on the table. Nobody's rolling dice. Everybody's talking about their characters having fun, and then the GM's like, wait! Now we have to roll dice. And you're like, what the fuck does that mean? And you're like assembling these dice, and you're talking for like 10 minutes about, can anybody else give me any other dice? Is there a way I can get dice?
Yeah,
Whatever.
that is how it works.
And then you roll, and then the GM goes, interesting, and then takes a pen and writes something in a big leather book, and then closes it, and then keeps going.
Yeah.
You're kidding me? Players are like, what the fuck was that?
Right.
What the fuck was that?
Make it impactful.
Oh yeah.
Because I do think the whole perception thing is like, I think, the whole thing of even making a character is just like, are you proficient in perception? Why should I be?
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Goddamn.
Yeah.
Do I need to be rolling perception 90% of the time? How about I just notice it, okay?
Yeah.
Jesus, maybe I notice it.
Rule of cool, Fast and Furious, who gives a
I
shit?
think it's I think it totally incorporated the rule of cool. It's just stop. Yeah, like there is. Oh, can you see it or not? Or more of like, you've done it too, which is like, something feels wrong. Something is wrong, and you might not even need to roll it. It's just like you need to understand the mood. Not that you walk in a room and you get shot by a trap, but like, something feels wrong.
Right.
Might be a better answer than just saying, oh, well, that's a 9. Nice.
It's not sometimes, it's always a better
we've
answer. You're totally right.
We've seen him do that when we play another game, which is like, if you're a group going into a dungeon and, hey, Kate, we've been stealthing this whole time. Eventually, people sometimes get it and they go, I don't need to ask for stealth. And that's a magical moment. You're like, thank you. I get it. We're always stealthing, okay? We're always stealthing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in the enemy's thing. Yes, I'm just running around. Being loud is what I want. Maybe I'm always stealthing, okay?
Right, yeah.
You don't need to talk
you're
about
the rogue.
every
Of
rule.
course you're sneaking. Of course you're sneaking around. Yeah, that's the thing that you do.
Yeah, so there's
If you're a master trap checker and the reason you run into a trap should be because the trap was fucking expertly made and placed, that's supposed to like wow your character.
Yeah.
To be a challenge, to be a direct challenge to their personality of this was something that's above you that you need to overcome and learn how to deal with.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh yeah, you just didn't notice it that time.
Dumbass.
And I think it's like what you're saying too, which is like show that those characters are exceptional by constantly highlighting, you're good at this.
Yeah.
I am highlighting to your character, you are good at this, and I'm acknowledging to the
You're
area.
cool.
I'm acknowledging to your this group that you noticed it. You noticed that by yourself.
I think that's a good point too. Highlighting if during a scene that I'm doing as a player that it's like spotlighting for my character, if the character is highlighted, if somehow it's not just I was able to pull off some checks and that was interesting. If this was a scene that like was directly important not only just to the story but perhaps towards my specific background or what my character's interests are. As soon as then I have to wait for 2 other people's scenes going through, I'm good. If that scene was solid, I feel fine. I'm interested in what's. If I'm like, wow, that scene was great, I want to see how the next ones are. If I'm not in it, it's not a problem. If it's a scene where, I'm just doing some checks and going through some motions, and then it's not my turn anymore, who gives a shit?
Right. If anything, even if you're not paying attention to the people's things because you're like, come on, because you're on the edge of your fucking seat still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, you're like, I still might not necessarily care as much. Ideally, you should care about other people's scenes, but ideally, you're so excited that you can't even be distracted. You can't even look at your phone.
That's why with spotlights, I try to end with cliffhangers. A lot of times.
Right
between things and just keep making it shorter and shorter and switching back.
It's, you know what we're describing right now? A soap opera.
Yeah.
It's literally perpetualized plot. It's literally everybody's fucking special and competent. It's literally things going way too fast, honestly, sometimes.
Or you're not competent at all and it's hilarious.
That's also true.
So that's a lot of what we've been talking about. Challenges with spotlighting, incentives for helping the group wanting to be part. None of that's in Curb. It's quite the opposite, just because of the content of what it challenges. So that's what's wild about trying to build it is mechanically incentivizing the wrong kind of play in the right way.
But the thing is it is still following the rule of cool.
Yeah.
Because like Jerry, I think everybody would say that you could say a lot of things about the characters in Seinfeld, but I think you could probably say they're cool.
Yeah.
I think most people would probably say they're cool. They all suck. They're all giant pieces of shit,
Yeah.
but they are cool.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why would so many people
That's
like
why
them?
you watch it.
I think
Right.
they're cool to themselves. They think they're cool.
Which is even better.
Yeah, they think they're cool. Which is why we like, the general society of confidence. We go to
Right.
people their confidence whether or not they actually deserve it.
Speaking of confidence, I was going to say this. The other thing about, let's take that example with the rogue and the trap.
Sure.
You have a mundane trap, and the trap master misses his check, and he gets hit with his trap, and he's like, "That's ridiculous. I shouldn't get hit with something that's not masterwork." Then all of a sudden, you go, "Well, then that means it was." And now the implications of who these are just some ramshackle kobolds in the middle of nowhere. Now they're laying traps, and the master trapsman can't see. What does that mean about these kobolds? What does it mean about these traps? What's going to happen to the rest of the party? The rest of the party's like, are we going to get fucking sawed? Are we going to get sawed?
Yeah.
Like,
No,
like,
that's one of my
you know.
favorite things for when a player goes, but that the rule doesn't work that way. And I go, I know.
I think that's where the difference of Spotlight, because then it's nicer when the Spotlight boomerangs back to the group.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
a rogue going by themselves to get an advantage for the group. We don't need to.
Yeah.
We're not
Setting up a
dicking-
big distraction.
Yeah, we're
for
not
what
dicking
then
around
the
on our
group is
phone.
doing. That's
They
right.
are like the what we did with the last game is like if someone like if you're trying to do merchant stuff, it's usually for the group or for our vehicles.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was absolutely together. And it would be like, that's why like rogue can easily Spotlight because it's the rogue is helping the party. Yeah. I'm about to tabletop the boss. Why would it be on our phone? It's directly associated with what we're doing.
Right.
I am going to get money, or I'm going to try to save money in order to, get everyone items. Like, there's a way to do it.
Right.
Like, there's the whole, like, hey, I'm a bard, I'm going to go fuck the dragon or something.
Yeah.
I always hate that thing. Unless it...
No,
that?
no, what?
Oh, okay.
I think it's...
I thought I can't cuss, but I thought we have...
There's been a little.
We can... What are you talking about? We can't cuss.
You just looked at your phone immediately, and I was like,
No.
did I say
Oh,
that
no,
wrong?
no, I wasn't-
Yeah,
I wasn't-
I'm sorry.
I wasn't timestamping. I'm literally writing down things we're saying because
Okay.
I think this is gold.
But, like-
I think this is gold.
Yeah, the whole thing of like
Sorry.
the bard who walks up and he says like, I'm gonna fuck,
I'm gonna fuck the
and you're
dragon,
like, cool, you
Yeah,
do
cool.
that.
Right.
But if it's like, it'd be more interesting if it's like, if it
Yeah.
party cares.
Bring
Yeah.
it back. Bring
well,
it back.
that's why you as a DM,
Bring it back to the
back
group.
when
Yeah.
back when you had a certain player that would always go, yeah, I'm gonna fuck the person. That's when you always go, great. Then that person is a demon.
Yeah.
It is. I loved how he kept doing that. Can we say his name? Do we not want to?
I don't know. He's just
Who?
never gonna listen to it. I don't think.
I don't care.
Say a different name. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, the fact that
Gerald?
we're quite asking about it,
Gerald?
maybe I won't.
Gerald?
Look, so he the fact that he was always fucking everything that moves. The thing that made it so compelling is we always brought it back, and I think the reason why is because we were like, oh my god, he keeps doing this and it's annoying, so I'm gonna fucking just do this to him. But then that encouraged him to do it more. And then it created this ecosystem, which I honestly liked.
Yeah.
Where at some point in the campaign, he's gonna stick his dick in something, and it's gonna end
Oh,
horribly.
him. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
end horribly.
That was fine.
Yeah,
I thought it was
That was
great.
fine.
Yeah.
But
Because he
that's-
made it.
yeah.
Because he made it funny.
Yeah.
Because he was just always like,
Yeah, he always
this
did.
seems pretty sexy. This cult leader.
Yeah.
He's like, so don't. Yeah,
I
it
should
was
totally stick my
actually pretty
penis in
funny to
this.
watch.
Yeah.
Because I think it was half coming from like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck in this game to like, I'll see where this goes. And he knew it was always bad, which is why it was funny.
He did it in one of my
Yeah.
other
It
games.
wasn't a
and I'm
power
like,
game
great.
move.
You wake
Right.
up the next day. There is a statue made out of cheese that looks exactly like a woman you don't think you've ever met, and also all your money's gone.
Right, because that could
And
totally.
the plot item that you were entrusted with is gone too. So
Oh, there
you go.
Nice
Because that
job,
could
yeah.
totally go bad, but I think the way he was doing it was just like, this is going to create conflict and it's going to be hilarious.
He did that in Blue
That's how he
Mountain.
always. Yes,
He
exactly.
did that in Blue Mountain and turned into an antagonist.
yeah,
I
it's
think
great.
I think there is a difference between that and bards seriously just wanting to go fuck a dragon
For the
and-
meme of it.
For the meme
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
and it has nothing to do with the party because it's like
Yeah.
they even think it's not.
God.
It's going to be easier on them, but like he was doing it, which is like, no, this is going to be hilarious. Like, and I don't know. It's so similar, but I don't know how to describe.
No, you're.
It was just, this is going to create conflict. I think that's what it was. I'm going to fuck the dragon to stop conflict.
Yeah.
And boom, I did it. Points me.
Yeah.
The other one was, this is going to create conflict. this is going to continue in a new storyline that's going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
It's totally different avenues.
Yeah.
It
One
really
is to
is.
get
It
like
is.
weird macho dick sizing almost. Like, hey, I played a couple of games where I fucked dragons, and you're like,
See, yeah, I'm
okay,
I'm not
okay,
interested.
but he was like, no,
I'm not
I
interested
did
in
this.
playing games to get achievements because already got all the achievements. I've done everything.
I've
in
done
the game,
everything.
all right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm way better.
Yeah, I think that there's a difference.
No,
You're the
but-
game master.
No, we used to do that all the time starting out because that is just kind of what you do. You're exploring usually Dungeons and Dragons. That's for people's first role playing, and it's not only that we're playing D&D, but you're also exploring it. You're going,
Right.
oh, it's the first time I'm meeting a dragon. Oh, it's the first time I'm doing this. Oh yeah, I want to break in. Oh, it's the first time I'm committing a murder. Ha ha ha.
Yeah,
Woo-hoo.
murder. Woo, murder. Yeah, that's usually.
How we play, I look back on that, and I'm like, oh, that's all you're gonna do.
Right.
There's so much more you can do.
But it's like,
Well,
on the other hand,
the DM, that's who we were at the time.
Yeah.
it is who we were at the time. And those were valuable experiences. But now, on the other hand, it's like, because I do find myself also kind of reaching to places like, well, then what the hell else is there? What do we do now?
Yeah.
We've already done everything.
Yeah.
Like, what's next? You know?
Or storytelling.
I'm building the
Yeah.
frontier.
Yeah.
I'm building the
Yeah,
frontier. It's gonna
they're gonna
crash.
be just-
I think
yeah.
it's the most dangerous game to develop.
I'm
A
excited.
game where you have friends play social assassins, antagonizing each other in a contemporary setting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a power keg of atrocity.
I mean, you
It's
just
gonna
have to be good with
God, it's gonna be
okay
great.
with arguing and having your character lose,
Yeah.
which is not usual role play games.
I think
I'm fine with losing.
having games. So I was going to mention this earlier too. So a lot of what we're talking about is a lot easier to do in games that are not like D&D played straight, where oops, I accidentally killed a character because I reduced his hit points to 0.
Yeah.
It's easier in games that are like, Burning Wheel and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, I've got one persona left over, so I can't die.
Mm-hmm.
When you set that up in the game, like in Burning Wheel, you tend to fail more often than not. And when you fail, you always still get what you want.
Yeah.
It's just modified differently. And then you add on top of that, hey, you can't actually die unless you want to put your life on the line.
Yeah.
All of that comes together to create an environment which players are okay with failing.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to
That's very true for this.
have a game that lets you fuck up.
I mean,
You know?
with this game, the harshest thing of failing is you losing your shit.
Right. Yeah.
Your character will continue going on. There's still going to be a factor. They're still going to be able to do things.
Yep.
It's just the culmin. In fact, with now how we're building it, it rewards you for absolutely failing and getting bested by the game.
Right. It's awesome. And I like that. I think a game needs to be I think you should want to fail.
Yeah.
I think if you come to a table, I'm trying to find a list of 5 very important things.
I mean,
and I'll
that's
leave them before we start the
that's what I
episode,
do when
but,
I build a character. When I'm playing a character that's like I'm building someone who's supposed to be like an expert spellcaster of a certain type of magic. Then what I'm not wanting is to start the game and always be the best at that type of magic.
Right.
That's not at all what I want.
No.
I want to be able to play a character that's saying, yeah, woo, I'm exceptional, and then get shown that he knows nothing
Right.
about. Because when you're shown that you know nothing about what your character's expertise is supposed to be, it's telling you, hey, this is going to be a game that's going to be showing you all these things about how you want to play.
I think everything you're describing is kind of why you're also gravitating towards 2D20 so hard.
Yeah.
Why it's becoming a second language to you, because it does all these things.
Yeah.
And that's, God, you're right.
It mechanically builds the trust element of a role-playing game, where
Yeah.
you can literally go, I'm fucking over the party, and everyone goes, we understand why you're doing that. You have the points.
Yeah. I understand completely. We are at time.
Yeah?
All
right.
Before the first one, if we want to do more, I've got another thing. But I just want to read the 5 big. I've been sitting here writing these down because I think this is gold. I've got
Sure.
5 big takeaways. You ready?
Yep.
Ready for the list?
Yep.
Rule of cool, fast and furious. Who gives a shit? Bring it back, like to the group. Like bring it back, and fuck it up.
Fuck it up.
And
Yeah.
fuck it up. Fail all over the place. Fail forward. All that beautiful stuff.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it, man. This is going to be another one of those episodes that I'm like, hey, people should listen to this. We actually talk about good stuff in this.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Prove
to see
it.
if he can guess when.
I'm not
when we
guessing.
should
I'm trying to
end.
be awkward about it.
Yeah,
I kind of keyed in on it.